I'm going to ask you this one and only time. Where is Hunt? Well, sir, he just called me from London, and he was reporting at the facts that the syndicate had infiltrated our organisation. They killed the young agent in the record shop in London, and they kidnapped him and attempted to torture him to get some information, but one of them, an undercover agent from somewhere else, probably British intelligence, got him out, and yeah, so there. So what you said about the syndicate was a fucking lie, because they are real. They're not imaginary, they are real, and he's just been through an ordeal to prove it. So, yeah. As you wish that you didn't shut down the IMF now, don't you, sir? Right, I'll try and get you reinstated. You will reinstate the IMF. I will get you reinstated. Right, hold on a minute. I'll even volunteer to be your new secretary. Thank you, sir. Right, there you go. Right. This is how you avoid a shit subplot, ladies and gentlemen. Right. Better go and help Ethan. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Mission Impossible Rouge Nation, which has two pictures on both the front and the back. Yep, for some reason films 5 and 6 get two pictures each. When they get the 8 film boxes out, those pictures will probably be filmed by 7 and 8. Anyway, so Mission Impossible Rouge Nation, the 5th film in the franchise, and it's actually my least favourite. But I still had a fantastic, fun time with it. I think the plot is better than the second film, but personally, there's one thing that's stopping me from loving this film, because otherwise this would probably be the best one, or the second best one at least, if it wasn't for this one thing that's preventing it from being my, at this point, the best one, or the second best one prior to Fallout, and instead is making it my least favourite, or second least favourite at least. No, I think it's my least favourite. And that is the fucking CIA subplot. It seems deranged for spy films to have the protagonist be an enemy of the CIA for at least one film in its franchise. In the Jason Bourne films, all the time, Bourne or Aaron Cross, played by Jeremy Renner in the 4th film, they're always on the run from the CIA or CIA-esque organisation or American spy organisation. Every film, every flipping film, Bond, James Bond, it's Quantum of Solace. Quantum of Solace has a small subplot where there's a capture or kills squad, but Americans capture or kill squad after Bond, and Felix is the only one who doesn't really want to get rid of him. I also have to mention Die Another Day, the CIA threatened to come and clean up M's house all day if she didn't, implying that the CIA would take out Bond in that film. And I also want to mention that I haven't seen it yet, but Torchwood Series 4, Miracle Day, the CIA gets involved and they kind of go after Torchwood for a bit, but then they team up with them afterwards, I believe. I'll have to watch the series, but when I can. But they definitely have some sort of interference with Torchwood in its 4th series. And now we've got this. Mission Impossible Rouge Nation, where the CIA just blunders in it. It tries to... Atlee, who becomes a fantastic character in the 6th film, but here he's a pretty shit character until he's persuaded, until later on, where he becomes a good character. But he's just... Again, it's a Bourne knockoff, minus all the shitty camera work and editing. It's a nice looking Bourne knockoff then, which is a shame because the rest of the film feels like it's more of a Bond film, which is better. Sorry, but Bourne, every single film, they're going after, the CIA are after this one guy, apart from the 4th film where it's a branch of the CIA going after another guy and another woman. But it just feels like that. The subplot just feels like that, but the rest of the film feels like a Bond film merged with a Mission Impossible film that feels like the first one, reminiscent of the show, albeit with elements of the previous two films. But I don't know. It's just that it's not even that huge subplot. It's not really that massive in the second act, and lesser in the third act until they persuade Hunley that they're actually the good guys and this organisation exists, and they eventually persuade him round. And actually a really great scene. That's probably my favourite scene in the film. And there's a lot of great stuff, but this subplot just prevents it from being, well, in my mind, a masterpiece. If it wasn't for this subplot, this film would probably be a masterpiece. But as it stands, it just lets the film down on so many levels, especially early on, after the amazing pre-title sequence. So that's why I'm not so keen on this film as much as maybe everybody else. That's why I probably put it at the bottom of my ranking, or second at least, favourite at least. I think it would be my least favourite, because Mission Impossible 2, silly, over the top, but fun. And there was no stupid subplot that got in the way of the story. It focused on this one story, even if it wasn't the best story, but it still focused on it. And it was also the only film where Ethan Hunt or no members of his team are not hunted by their organisation or a intelligence agency. At no point are they under threat of being arrested or being branded enemies of the country or state or whatever. No, they just get on with the bloody mission. At no point in that film, never, not at all. All the other films, they have at least one moment of doing it. Even Fallout does this, briefly. But this film is the worst. At least with the first film, it was part of the plot. In this film, you didn't need it. So again, first film and fourth films, I should say. Third film, kind of necessary. Wouldn't be needed. Sixth film isn't necessary, but isn't there that much. It's only a few brief moments. And before that, it's some untrustworthy stuff, which does feel needed or relevant, does feel like it does work there. And then later on, the other stuff, they don't really need to be there, but they're very brief, so not really much of a problem. This film doesn't work at all. Just doesn't bloody work. The only reason it's there is so that they could have the CIA shut down IMF, and it makes the team go rogue. Especially Hunt, who's rogue from the start, and then Benji, and then William Brandit and Luther later on, and then Brand gets Hutley's trust again, and then that's when they have the big reveal. But it just doesn't work, in my opinion. I don't think they needed it. They could have just exposed the syndicate normally. In fact, the IMF even knew about the syndicate, and as told at the end of the previous film, or was that the syndicate playing games with Ethan as well? It just doesn't work. That's my main problem with this film. The CIA subplot doesn't work, and I know I'm getting riled up about it too much, but can you blame me? Can you really blame me? And I'm sure there's other spy films or TV series that have the same problem as well. The CIA just come in and try and hunt the protagonist down for no reason. Just no reason. It's just so fucking stupid. Bourne got away with it for its first film, but maybe this and the second film, as they was framed for that stuff. But since then, it's not worked, and it didn't work in Quantum of Solace. And if I watched Torture Miracle Day, it probably wouldn't work for me there either. It doesn't sound appealing. So yeah, and it doesn't work here. So, and it didn't really work that well with film 6. I mean, the distrust and was whether they weren't certain if they could trust Ethan. That was okay. That was cool. But afterwards, the brief bits, not so much. But then reconcile at the end. So yeah, that's made up for that. This one just sucks. Just sucks. So now we got that shit out of the way, let's talk about the amazing stuff. Well, the rest of the film is pretty much amazing. If we ignore that subplot, the rest of the film is amazing. We've got some amazing action, we've got some amazing cinematography, we've got some amazing actors doing some great work. Ethan Hunt, again, brilliantly played by Tom Cruise. Brilliant performances from Simon Pegg as Benji. He's probably at his best in this film. Luther's back in a more active role this time around, and Vig Rhames is great again. Brandt's back, and Jeremy Renner does a good job here. Rebecca Ferguson is great as a new character. Also, first, Sean Harris is great as new villain, Solomon Lane. And despite having being a bit a shit character early on, once we get to the reveal scene about the syndicate being exposed, Hutley then becomes a pretty good character and even joins Ethan and Brandit in confronting the British head of intelligence, and he's proven to be a good guy, and he reinstates the CIA, gets his IMF reinstated at the end, and becomes the new secretary. And Alec Baldwin, despite the character he's given for most of the film, he does an amazing job with it. And there's also, I really enjoyed some of these other small time characters. There's this girl in the record shop who dies early on. She's really nice. It's a shame that she died. She was under 30. She was so young. I could probably say the same about Ferris in the third film, but still. Goodness. And there's also this bone cracker guy he's also a pretty intimidating character a couple of times. Or not intimidating, but he's cool to be around, cool to have on screen. And it's nice to go back to London again after the first film, and we'll be going back again next time round, obviously to show off more of the great sights. I wasn't certain which train station they went to. According to online sites, it was saying it was Paddington, but I thought it was St Pancras originally, and looking at it now, on this rewatch, I thought it might be King's Cross. They go to a main London terminal station, or London station in every film. In the first one, it was my lovely Liverpool Street. That's the one my West Anglia main line that serves my town terminates at. And in the next film, they go to Blackfriars, which is part terminus, part through. But in this one, I'm sure it's King's Cross, despite some of the sites saying it's Paddington. And although originally I thought it was St Pancras, it did have on some of the stuff on the boards. I was looking at the boards, and that's along with some of the train colours. It was looking like the King's Cross station, but it said Heathrow Terminal 5 on one of them for some reason. That would be Paddington, but the rest would be ones from St Pancras or King's Cross, like Edinburgh, Leeds, Cambridge. That would be a King's Cross, if not Liverpool Street. But it wasn't Liverpool Street, because Liverpool Street trains don't go to Edinburgh or Leeds. They go to Norwich, Ipswich, and Chelmsford, Cambridge, King's Lynn occasionally. Most of those ones come from King's Cross, but Hertford North. So, not Hertford North, Hertford East, Bishop Stortford, Stansted Airport, Southend Victoria, Braintree, Clacton-on-Sea. That gist. So, that wasn't Liverpool Street, but the thing was, I was trying to work out whether it was Paddington or King's Cross, and it seemed to be more King's Cross because of the station on the board and the silver trains, which would have been East Coast trains before it became part of, before the London North Eastern Railway took over. Was it last year, 2018 or 2017 or 16? This film was made in 15 or just beforehand. So, but anyway. But I'm sure it's King's Cross station. It looked King's Crossy, although I didn't completely recognise it. But I'm pretty sure it was. Exterior might look a bit Marylebone Paddington-y, though. Not quite certain. Anyway, but yeah, if you used to London Terminus or main London station in each film, and to show off some of the sites really beautifully, and it's all really well crafted and really well executed, and it just looks really great. And get some more really great stunt work. Look on the side of the plane, going into the water thing, and all the stuff over there. That was cool, and all that stuff about getting into the computer mainframe. That was all great, and how all their perceptions about how they would do it, and how easy one of them would be. How the final version was It would be so easy, and yet they actually have a couple of complications. There's also a couple of great chases. There's car-bike chases a few times. And it's some great twists in there, and it's all executed really well. I think Christopher McQuarrie gets the Mission Impossible series the most out of all of the directors. I think he's probably the one who understands it just as much as Tom Cruise, if not more so. And he's able to give us an amazing spin on the film, and it's just a really well executed film. And it's just really marvellous, and it's also got a really great main plot, and it's just really great. It's just that CIA subplot brings the whole thing down a peg or two, and I was considering a 9 or a 10 if it wasn't for that subplot, but due to that subplot, I have to force myself to give Mission Impossible Rogue Nation a 8 out of 10. I just can't give it anything higher than an 8 with this subplot. Without the subplot, it would be 9, if not 10, easy. But with the subplot, it can't go any higher than an 8 because it's just so awful. And this is such a shame because it looks so lovely, and they go to all these lovely places: Austria, London again, Washington DC looks nice. Morocco, it's Casablanca apparently, and Belarus to start in the pre-title sequence. Again, Bondy-esque. Fun fact, they actually filmed that scene up in RAF Mildenhall in Cambridgeshire. A little bit further away from where I live. But not too far. Just about, I don't know, 40 miles or so. It was about 20 to 30 to Cambridge. But it still looks great. It's just that fucking subplot. I hate it. Excuse me. A little bit of a rant and on that. But yeah, if it wasn't for that, this film would be a 9, if not a 10. But because of that, it can't go any higher than an 8, and that's why it's my least favourite. And what's even worse, another reason why it's my least favourite, because that subplot is there, and because the rest of the film is so amazing, but this subplot brings it down, then and that makes it even worse. The fact that the subplot brings an otherwise amazing movie down just makes me hate the subplot even more, and that is then another reason why I have it as my least favourite, because otherwise it probably would have been the best or the second best overall, but instead it's the weakest, or second weakest maybe. No, I would say weakest, because of that subplot. At least Mission Impossible 2 didn't have a subplot like that. It had one proper plot and stuck to it. This one, its subplot just and that's why it's my least favourite. If it wasn't for that, it would probably be my favourite, say, for Fallout. Okay, so now that I've got that out of the way, that's it. That's Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Would have been the best, minus the next film, if it wasn't for that subplot, and because of that subplot, it therefore becomes the worst, sadly. But even being the worst Mission Impossible film, it's still really, really, really great. It's just for that fucking subplot. Fucking subplot. So that's it from Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and as I mentioned in my Hedwig and the Angry Inch review, I might re-review Mission Impossible Fallout on my main channel again, if my opinions on that one have changed. But if not, then a later review will point you in the direction of the original review, and the same was said for my review of The Birds on this channel. So, yeah. But that's it from Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I'm sorry if any of you got a bit upset about my little outburst back there. It's just, I can't put Rogue Nation as my favourite film of the series, or one of my favourite films of the series because of that subplot. If it wasn't for that, like I said, it would be number 1, number 2, easily. But because of that, it's number 6. And yeah, Fallout does have a little bit of that, but it ignores it for the most part. It has the mistrust, which works into the plot, and then you've got some little bits of a CIA going after them, but it's only briefly. And then at the end, they're all like, "Oh, we're actually your friends now." So it actually works okay in that film. It actually works fine, and in some cases, it actually works with the plot, and the twist is really great. And yeah, and the rest of the film more than makes up for that. But the rest of this film doesn't quite more than make up for this subplot. The subplot actually takes it makes the rest of the film fall down some pegs, which is an absolute shame. It is an absolute shame. Because I genuinely like this film. Genuinely. Whatever that. I honestly really like this film, and if it wasn't for that subplot, I would love it. But sadly, it just has to go down a couple of pegs. I hope you understand, okay? Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. You mean? Now I'm going to ask you this one. Excuse me. Bet you wish that you didn't disavow the IMF now. How is it? Was it disavow? Clue. Bet you. This is how you. Hang on. Thank you, sir. This is how you avoid a shit subplot. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you avoid a shit subplot. There's a lot of people outside my door for some reason. This is how you avoid a shit subplot, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do that take one more time.